Roger. Go for deploy.
Hey guys, so this is our second part with Lester Ho. I've been it's about take number 6 because I'm doing the intros in front of my girlfriend, and for some reason she's making me nervous. But anyway, this show is with Lester Ho, part 2. Lester Ho studied biomechanics at university, and he's doing a PhD on the snatch. He's also got a very, very famous blog that called The Training Geek. He also writes for Breaking Muscle. He runs his own gym, Southeast Strength, which is a weightlifting and powerlifting gym. He has also done international seminars with Diane Fu all through the States, does a lot through Australia. And he's a really, really good guy and a really good coach and a really good wealth of knowledge if you are a weightlifter or a strength and conditioning kind of guy. So, part 2 of our show with Lester. I hope you guys enjoy it. Before we get into the show, we are sponsored by Audible. Audible is the world's biggest audiobook warehouse with over 250,000 titles, and it is great. I am an Audible user. I listen to Audible quite regularly, try and get a book in a week. So whenever I'm driving, whenever I'm doing a little bit of work with my dad, which I do from time to time, whenever I am sitting on the couch and I'm bored, whether I'm cooking, I'll chuck on Audible and I'll be just taking in information. I'm kind of addicted to learning, just pretty much since I watched Interstellar last year, it rekindled my quest for knowledge. And the best way to get knowledge is to read books. If you don't have a whole bunch of time in your life, like me, to sit down and actually read a book, put it in your hands and flick through the pages, then Audible's the way to go. So if you want a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook, then head to www.audibletrial.com/ADVF radio, and those guys will sort you out. We are also brought to you by Adventure Fit Travel. So Adventure Fit Travel is a travel company for the fitness community, and we are going to Mount Everest this year. We're going September 20th to the 4th of October. And it's going to be great. If you guys have Everest Base Camp on your bucket list, then there's no better time to head over there and support the country of Nepal. As I said in the last show, Nepal is still somewhat reeling after the earthquakes. Last year we did a trip in March, which I led, and I left Nepal exactly 2 weeks, I think, before the earthquake hit, and we were scheduled to go back in November. I checked in with everyone over there. Everyone was healthy and safe. It was all right. They were distraught, but their families were okay. Everything was good. But I left it another couple of months, and then I spoke to my guys over there, and I wanted to know whether we were actually going to run the trip, whether they thought it was the right thing to do, and they pleaded with me that we have to keep making these trips happen because their whole economy is run on tourism. So we went back in November, and it was amazing. It was just such a beautiful part of the world, and they're amazing people, and they're still kind of stuck in that. They're still recovering from the earthquake. So get over there and support them. Support Adventure Fit Travel. If you want any information, www.adventurefittravel.com. And here's the show. Alrighty, guys, so going to continue on with Lester. Tommy's got an appointment today, so it's just one-on-one now for me and Lester. So Lester, let's talk about actual programming and coaching specifics. What are your general training principles that you would say, do you have any training principles that you kind of stand by with your programming and how you do things?
Yes, so principles, your basic principles of periodization, progressive overload. I think that's really important. Mm-hmm. So, you train under Ivan and you've seen a bit of Rob's programming as well. So you know that they follow slightly more of a, they were influenced by the Soviet style of training. Rob has these like manuals of Russian texts, in terms of weightlifting and what they do in terms of like a yearly periodization program for weightlifters. I'm very influenced by that as well, knowing that, there's a specific template that you can follow for you to achieve this goal. That's the purpose of periodization. Yeah. I follow more. I try to make it as organic as possible with what I learn. So I've spoken to different coaches from different sports, how they actually treat, like using different methods of implementing a stimulus, and then I put that into play as well. I see whether that works for an individual and try that out. So more importantly, I test out some of these programming ideas that I have and see how it actually feels on the human body. And even though I cannot say that for everyone, but at least I know what to look out for and how to work around that.
Yeah, for sure. So if you've got if you've got a general athlete who's going to compete maybe, let's say, 4 or 5 times throughout the year, would that be a general for more? 6? Every 2 months? Less?
I think every 2 months would be actually quite a bit. I think when I was competing, Rob got me competing almost every 2 months, or maybe even sometimes every 6 weeks.
Okay.
And you got to look at the comms, what are the important comms.
And which level you're at and stuff. But let's say, for example, you've got an athlete and they're doing 5 or 6 competitions for the year.
Yep.
I don't know. How many waves of periodization, how many cycles will you go throughout the year? And will it just depend on, okay, let's say this athlete, by that math, has a comp every 2 months.
Yep.
Is it just a 6 week fluctuating up and down, and then your deloads, and then that's your comp? Or how do you actually? What does a 12-month periodization program look like? Okay,
so within that 6 comps, right? I'll actually look at what's your main comp. So like, let's say if that's nationals or states, so then I'll put that down as, all right, that's your main comp that you need to work for. Build that up with off-season, pre-season kind of phase. A few of the comps would fall within those phases probably, but we'll take it like training comps. You've probably done that where you train through it and you just go and compete as a 1 hour and day kind of thing. So I tend to I usually try to get a lot of my guys to allow them to taper down, only because they are firstly beginners and they are just regular athletes. They're not like full-time athletes where they get the chance to go for a massage, they get a chance to eat properly, train properly. So that taper week allows them to kind of allow their body to rest and be ready for a comp as well. And it sets their mindset up for the competition rather than being able to go to that point of that competition and go, oh, I'm actually training, I got myself smashed the week before a comp and I may not be able to do as well as I want to for that comp. I think the important thing is to instill confidence for every competition for a beginner in weightlifting.
For sure.
Like you were saying about your mate 6 out of 6 for the lifts.
There's nothing better.
That's the most important thing that someone who just got into the competition scene needs to think about. It's not about, oh, I'm able to hit my PBs or anything like that. You work your way up to it. You work your way up to hitting 1 kilo more each time you open. Then you're gonna see that, oh, maybe 6 comps down the road, I'm already opening 6 kilos more than what I did.
And I've had two good days where I've hit 6 from 6 and I've ended up with So that's a very good point that you raised about confidence, and this is like, we've had a lot of weightlifters on the podcast, obviously, because I'm a weightlifter. We have good access to good coaches and athletes. One of the things that I like to ask the most is, how often do you max in training? Because, for example, and I've spoken about this before, I went through a period there where, so Ivan with me we would only max out the week before the competition, the heavy week before, sorry. And then even then, there was a period there where I would hit a PB in competition on the platform. Sorry. So let me say that again. I would hit a PB in training, and Ivan would say, "Let's leave it for the platform." So I'd say I'm 106 kilo snatch. I'd hit 107 in training, looked pretty good, but Ivan would say, "Let's leave it. Let's put it all out there on the platform," which for an athlete is very frustrating because you're like, "Oh no, I can hit 3 kilos more, and then let me." Have a go on the platform. This is what goes through an athlete's mind. But at the same time, I would step foot on the platform every single time. There was a period where I just, in my head, there's no way I'm going to miss this lift. Because I'd missed, there's a period for 4 or 5 months, I missed maybe 2 snatches and 3 clean and jerks. And when I'd miss a lift, I'd be surprised. I'd be like, what the fuck? You know, like, and you understand, you know, you have an idea of what you did wrong, but you're genuinely in shock. And that confidence is so important, I think. But then it flies in the face of a lot of other coaches who will max out consistently, so people get a feeling of that heavy weight more consistently. And you know, I just want to know your theory, like how often do Lester Hose athletes max out?
Not always. So you got to remember, I come from being very influenced by how Rob programs, because I was under him, and you know, I took a little bit of that with me, and I wouldn't say that I'm actually using his methods, but I do change it up a little bit. But I think maxing out is definitely important in instilling confidence. You know, there are days where I tell them, all right, this week's meant to be a heavy week. You know, we may max out, we may not max out.
Yep.
You know, if you're not moving well, there's no point maxing out.
Yeah.
You know, if you're moving well, yes, I'll push you to the point where I feel like, all right, that's really your max, and we'll leave it as that.
Yep.
You know, because having experience with playing around with the Bulgarian system, for example, maxing out all the time doesn't help as well. You know, I mean, it's like a double-edged sword. You know, you get the confidence, but at the same time, you end up going like, oh man, if you start missing lifts, you actually lose that confidence.
Yep.
You know, if you end up not even hitting a minimal amount or minimal weight, you also start losing that confidence. You know, so I generally feel like being able to max out always really depends on how ready the athlete is.
Yeah.
You know?
And the Bulgarian system was probably a system that was used by athletes that were enhanced.
Yeah.
Enhanced and able to...
That's my point. So like, you know, I did it without any form of help.
Yeah.
Right? And the most I lasted was 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And because you're always lifting heavy from a theoretical background in terms of sport science, you don't have that velocity in your movement.
Yeah.
You know, so you slow down a lot. Saying that as well, once you start slowing down, and because, you know, we don't have that kind of consistency in regards to our technique where, you know, we are always hitting the same lift over and over and over and over again, you know, then you end up losing your technique. You end up not being able to hold that consistency in your technique, and that's where everything falls to shit. Your body starts to have to compensate, your shoulders start to, you know, oh, I have to take more strain in my shoulders, and you know, that's how you get injured.
Yeah, again, going back to the Bulgarians, I suppose, these are guys, and just professional, full-time athletes. These are guys that have put in 1 million snatches over a 20-year career. 1 million clean and jerks, compared to the guys that have come in 2 years out and 2 years in, and they've only maxed out 10 times in their life. You know, this is the whole CrossFit ethos of maxing out and hitting PBs. I used to have a real problem with that, and it carried over to a lot of because so many CrossFitters now entering weightlifting, and I think the idea of just moving so fast and so many reps, and the idea of maxing out so much in that environment just doesn't transfer well to taking weightlifting seriously. And I think do you have a problem with mindset of some of the guys that are coming over, because a lot of your athletes you said are CrossFitters?
Yep. Not really, actually. I think for them it's also that point where they go, oh, if I don't hit that 120 kilo snatch, for example, you know, or for a long time, I wouldn't feel confident. And then I go to them and I said, why are you hitting on a regular basis even though you're feeling like shit? You know, your training volume's up in terms of your metcons or your conditioning, but you're still able to hit that minimum weight. You know that your body's still good.
Yeah.
You're still able to lift well.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're not, then we have to think about how are we going to improve that minimum. All right. You know, you just have to be able to tell them that, you know, if you're hitting that minimal amount that you need, right, it doesn't matter whether you max out or not. You know, you can leave it for the day of the competition, you can leave it for the day of the event, or even if you want to have a period of time where, all right, let's just focus on your lifting now and try to push that envelope a little bit, then that's where you know you're going to be able to hit it.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure. So with your programming, I mean, we've gone over your, maxing and how you periodize and how you and a lot of stuff to do with the programming. What are the do you prescribe accessory stuff to your group as a whole? Do you recommend a basic structure of accessory exercises? Do you specify for each athlete? And what I'm really looking for here is for people out there that are trying to get more sessions in, trying to get more, like you're a pretty well-studied man in the sport of weightlifting. What are the accessory exercises that you go to most for people?
I think the important bit is upper back exercises and middle back exercises. So that's the number one thing because of posture.
Yep.
So like if we are sitting down on this wonderful couch, I slouch a lot.
It's a nice couch.
Yeah, it's a nice couch, man. Yeah. So if you're sitting down like that all the time, or you're sitting in a chair, you basically your body starts to form the shape of the chair. So all these accessory exercises allow you to kind of get back that posture a little bit. And it's just bulking up.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be putting on muscle, but your muscle needs to be matured and resilient.
Yeah.
So like bodybuilding exercises like, dumbbell shoulder presses, you see some of the guys at Phoenix doing lat pull downs, things like that.
All the type of rows.
Yeah, rows or something like that. I recently have put a lot of emphasis on unilateral movements because,
upper body unilateral movements?
Upper body and lower body.
Okay.
So if you think about it, the opposite shoulder works with the opposite hip, right? So if you work one, then you got to work the other. And because if you look at it from ground up, if your legs are not evenly built, then it's going to affect something in your trunk, going to affect something in your shoulder. Then you're going to see a lot of those rotational issues happen.
Okay.
The other important bit is actually your trunk, core exercise. You think that, I'm squatting a lot, I'm doing a lot of pulls, I'm doing a lot of these snatches where I'm bracing all the time. If you don't do enough work to just get your trunk strong or thick, right, then there's no point doing all these movements.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if your trunk's not firing, your legs don't get to be effective.
Yep.
So you're not using 100%.
You have to transfer that power 100% across the way.
Exactly. So that's my general idea of having to do accessory work. Yes, I do have a specific template for everyone that everyone should follow, but I adjust it accordingly to what I see that individual requires.
Yep.
So even though I program for like 20 people, but they may have a general template that they follow, but there are a few pieces that might be different. And I go like, today you might actually, instead of doing this row, do something different. Do a one-arm dumbbell row, for example, instead of a barbell row. You know?
And a certain athlete might need a certain accessory exercise more than another athlete.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very, very Chinese weightlifting style, I suppose, with lots of bodybuilding and so forth. What do you think for the athletes? So again, I think this is going to be a really good resource, this podcast itself, for probably like coaches out there, because there's so many coaches who will probably listen to the show, coach athletes, whether it's CrossFit or weightlifting, whatever. For the average everyday weightlifter that comes in the gym, what are the things that are overlooked the most? I mean, and I'm talking mobility, you're going to put in some time and effort in mobility, nutrition, accessory stuff, what else have we got there? But they're the three big ones that come to my mind. Like, what do you think's the biggest missing element that people aren't doing that you find in your gym to better themselves?
Body shape.
Shape.
So understanding your body type.
Okay.
I explain to my guys like the way I will actually teach someone in a seminar, and that's actually very beneficial for them. They see like, why are you allowing him to do that when you're not allowing me to do this? And I said, because his body is built to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas your body is probably built to do something else.
Yep. Gotcha.
Right? Yeah. So I talk about levers all the time, and I say, all right, you are basically built this way. If you have a long torso, then because that's your longest lever, you need to make it the strongest. So I go, you have this long torso. This fella doesn't have that long torso. So for you need to do a lot more like trunk work, or your technique needs to be like that. You need to lift like that. Whereas this guy, he may need to do a lot more hamstring posterior chain work so that he can actually use his hips
Yeah.
You know, so I get them to understand their lifting based on that, and you know, I think a lot of people don't recognize that. They go like, oh, the Chinese are doing this. You know, should I be doing this? And I said,
Do you look like a Chinese weightlifter?
do you look like a Chinese weightlifter? You know, are you lifting like a Chinese weightlifter so that you can do this accessory exercise? If you're not, then what's the point of doing that movement? You know, they see drills that people put up and they go like, oh, I need to do drills. I need to do this drill. You know, and I said, you know, are you sure it's because of this drill that you need to be you need to be doing this? You know, is it because you know you're not getting access to your legs from the way you dip in your jerk that you need to try to do a drill for a split jerk?
Yeah.
No, maybe not. You know, they're changing your jerk up. You know, so I try to be a bit more specific in terms of the details that I give them.
It's interesting. It's because obviously biomechanics, when I think of biomechanics, I think of setup position, where you should be in this part of the lift, so on and so forth. I've never really thought about biomechanically focusing more on one area. Obviously, like the long torso. The long torso, you're more over the bar, so you have to have a stronger position to hold.
Yes.
Stronger trunk to hold that position well through the pull. Right. Okay. I'm with you.
Similarly, some of the Chinese lifters or some of the Korean lifters, you can see they set up a bit more upright.
Yep.
So that they don't put that stress on the back, so they can actually hold the position a little bit better. So, you know, it boils down to then look at areas like mobility. Do you have the mobility in the hips to actually sit upright?
Yep.
If you don't, then staying over, then this boils down to, oh, I need a stronger trunk to hold that position. You know?
So basically what you're saying is biggest missing link in people out there is their coach's ability to assess biomechanics.
Yes.
In a way, that's what you're saying.
I mean, it's quite a bold statement, but I mean, that's what I feel it is. And, you know, it boils back to, I told you I see everything in lines and angles.
Yeah.
So I strip like your whole body down to just the skeleton and what it's capable of doing first. Then I add the other structures to it. So like, oh, just the skeleton, technically you should move like that, but because your joint capsule in your hip is tight, then you end up being in this shape.
Yeah, so we're going to work with this shape.
Yeah, we work with this shape and all that. So you slowly add the layers on, and that's how you actually, you know, be able to tailor it to that individual specifically.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Myself as a coach, I never fully understood as much of biomechanics of a lifter as what I should. I mean, it's such a rabbit hole to go down, and when you start talking about leverages and where the fulcrum the fulcrum sits and so on and so forth, a lot of people, it goes straight over the head, but for some, I mean, it's a very big part of their weightlifting, I suppose, if they're set up that doesn't look like the masses. You know, if their femurs are superhumanly long with a short torso, you know, it's obviously going to affect them a lot. Okay, so what about when we're talking about keeping a mindset of an athlete? So you've got an athlete who's failed on a lift and they're failed on their first two snatches and they're going for their third snatch. What do you do in the warm up area what do you do with your athlete? What are you saying to them? How does it look from a coach's aspect, mindset-wise, out the back?
I mean,
in the weight room.
I mean, I'm still new to this as a coach, so it's all very fresh to me, and the experience is still very novel to me as well. You know, but I did have that very specific experience in the last comm. I think you competed in the last comm as well.
I know what experience you're talking about.
Yeah, so
a young girl from Southern Strength.
Yeah, so one of my girls, she missed her first two snatches, and you know, it basically
I actually know the girl well too. She was when I was a coach at CrossFit.
Oh, nice.
The CrossFit she worked at, she went to. Yeah, she's a really good chick.
Yeah, she basically, she's the kind of athlete that she doesn't need to actually PB or hit a heavy lift in training, and you know she's actually going to perform on the platform. And that was exactly the thing that we had going into that competition. You know, I think we started her too light. She missed her first two because they just went way over. It's like that kind of feeling where you just go, oh, shoots, well, how did I miss that?
Yeah.
You know? And then
the shock of I've missed it over the back. How have I done that?
Yeah, exactly. So then we said, all right, last chance, we'll bump it up. You know, and basically what I did was I tried to get back her confidence by getting her to do the lifts again. So I got her to warm up all over again because we had a bit of time, and I said, all right, let's drop it down, let's do this. Let's work up back to the weights that you missed. Hit that twice in the warm-up area.
And she did that?
Yeah, she did that.
Yeah.
Went out, hit the 50. She actually bombed because of a technical error outside, not really because of the lift.
Yeah.
So she dropped the bar too early.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I
Yes.
remember that. Yeah.
Yes, so she dropped the bar too early before the down signal, and then but she got the lift perfectly.
Yes, I do remember that now.
So I mean, it's a bummer, and it's also partly my fault or my responsibility for making sure that she needs to be a bit more composed.
Yeah.
As a lifter on the platform. And I think it's all a learning curve for us, not only for her but for myself as a coach. And this also goes back to like how you actually experience the same emotions as your athlete. Like the excitement of you getting the lift, but then you need to be able to go like, oh, I'm still in competition, and
They'll go off your energy levels and your emotions as much as their own.
Yes,
I think.
Yes, that did throw a spanner in the works, and I was like, oh, that's my first bomb out as a coach, and
Yeah.
I'm like, it's an experience that I'm very, very keen to learn from, and it allows me to have a better understanding of her as an athlete as well. Like we've been working together for almost a year over, and she. Now I know her even better because of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the next time we step on the platform, it'll be a totally different experience, and it is. I think it's a good thing. I always take the positive out of that.
Yeah, if every negative can obviously turn into
yes.
an educational experience that,
Yes.
that can turn it into a positive.
Exactly.
I suppose. So, so what about when you're actually again in the warm-up area on game day for your athletes? So obviously we've all heard the term, or most of us have probably heard the term for weightlifters or CrossFitters of if you're in competition to start with something you know you can hit.
Yep.
Second lift, something that you think you can hit. Third lift, who knows? Let's have a crack at it.
Yep.
In an ideal situation. Yep. So, how does that reflect on game day? Do you, like you say, you have a system where the openers will always bump up by one each competition if it was successful, or and then what are how much does what's going on in the back in the platform have to do with it? What does it have to do with? Obviously, do you take little jumps if you want to buy your athletes some more time?
Yep.
I mean, talk a little bit about the things that you go through.
Yep. So for me, it actually starts the week before. So like on the last week when you taper down, that very last heavy session, they should be hitting their openers, and if they can hit it 3 times, like 3 singles, they should be sweet for it because they've gone through a whole heavy training period. Be able to hit their openers still, and they have that confidence for it.
For sure.
Then from there, on the day itself of the competition, I'll actually go, all right, let's see how you go. This is what I have for you in terms of opening. If you feel like that's too light, maybe we'll bump it up a little bit. But if you feel nervous or not confident with it, we'll keep it there. But you know that you've hit that in competition or in training easily,
consistently.
Yeah. So I also look at it as how they are actually moving or what their mindset is like. You never know what happens through that 1 week. Things can happen within their personal life that affects them easily.
Yep.
And that's where
cutting.
Yeah, and then that's where you start to handle the emotional side of it a little bit. Go like, all right, you don't look like yourself today. You're not moving like yourself today. We might have to drop it down, or you actually look really great today. Mm-hmm. Let's try to bump it up. I know you can hit this weight. You've done it before in training. Let's hit this weight for your opener and then move from there. That being said, that's for someone who is just doing the competition for the competition. But if it's someone that is trying to qualify for states, or someone who's qualified for nationals, or trying to go for a medal,
or they're trying to win, and they've got to jolt for position. Obviously, that's
where we play a bit of the strategy game and go like, all right, we need you to be able to. I always believe that your first jump should be more than your second jump.
Yes, for sure.
So if you're jumping
mentally, I think it makes it's a lot better for the athlete to not have to do a Hail Mary at the end.
No, but in terms of motor control as well, if you're warming up in 5 kilo increments all the way to your openers, and then suddenly your next jump is like 7 kilos.
I can't stand it.
Yeah, and you go like, oh shoot, that's 2 kilos heavier, and things get mucked up.
Throws you off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you are, unless you're very used to jumping that much, but because it's at the top percentage, it's not really ideal.
No.
You know, your body can't recognize that.
You want to go, say for me, for example, I'll always go my opener, and then it'll most likely be a 5 kilo jump to my second lift.
Yep.
And then if my second lift was amazing, maybe a 4 or 5 kilo jump.
Yep.
But most likely it'll be a 3 kilo jump. And what'll go through my mind at that point is, hit my first one, yep, that was good. Hit my second one, yes, I'm stoked. That was great. That was a 5 kilo jump. And then when I only put 3 more kilos on the bar, which might be an 8 kilo PB,
Exactly.
Could be an 8. But the mindset for me is, the last jump was 5 kilos. That felt heavy of a jump. I made it. This is only 3 kilos more. And mentally, the fact that you're doing less of a jump is like refreshing.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like.
And your body doesn't move too differently as well.
Yeah.
You know, because now let's talk about percentages. All right. So if the first one was 100%, second one is 105%, last one, if you jump to 110%, that's a 10% jump, and that's a lot of a difference, you know, in terms of your movement. Think about it. If you in training you're doing 80% compared to 90%, that's also a very different weight that you're hitting, and the way you move would be different as well. So I always try to keep it smaller in terms of the jumps, all right, particularly for the ladies because their numbers are lower, you know, and for the guys like yourself, you said 5 kilos, and then after that, whatever comes.
Yeah.
You know, there are times where I even go for the guys, sometimes 4 kilos, all right, and then after that, an even jump, you know, because that way they know that, that's gonna feel more manageable, rather than too big a jump, unless the circumstances require.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like more of an increase.
Yes.
Because mentally for me, if I for some reason have to go 4 kilos, I go 4 kilos in the first jump. Second jump, for some reason, I've got to go 6 kilos. Mentally, I'm not in a good position.
Yes.
I'd be very surprised if I'm going to make that lift. And that's when, obviously, like you say, you probably only reserve those lifts for qualifying for something,
Yes.
bumping yourself up in the podium of something.
Yes.
And then there's that added, you know, balls to the wall, all out emotion and, you know, stuff that'll help you on the platform. But otherwise, it's probably...
I mean, you see, at the end of the day, what's the purpose of your competition? Is it to actually, you know, gain that experience as a competitor, or is it for you to actually have a specific goal of qualifying for something?
Yeah.
You know, if that's the goal of your competition, then you will be trying to push yourself to the envelope of that mental game, and say, all right, I've never jumped 7 kilos before. Screw it, I'm gonna do it because I need it.
Yeah.
You know, then you know that you've taken the athlete to another level of being an athlete. You know, it's no longer just, I'm just competing.
Yeah,
I'm competing for a reason.
Yeah.
You know?
That's interesting. Well, I think we might slowly start to wind it up, Lester.
Yes.
I'll let you get out of here. Before we move on to some questions towards the end, I will ask, did you see the IWF announcement
Yes.
today?
Oh
Man.
Oh, it's like, you know, everyone's fairy tale
My heart
just got
crushed.
trampled upon, and you know, you go like.
So, for the people that don't know what we're talking about, so the IWF, International Weightlifting Federation, there'd been rumours and speculation, and some results came through that had said that there'd been some Olympic medalists and gold medal winners that had tested positive to performance-enhancing drugs, and the official announcement came out today, and that is that Ilya Ilin, sorry. What a lot of people would say is the world's greatest weightlifter, never been beaten in international competition at any weight class, 105, 90, 94, 85. He was young. He won the world championship at 85.
I think he's done 77 as well, but I don't think that was for world championships though.
Yeah, he's never been beaten in competition. And he's tested positive to banned substances, along with Abdi Ukadov, who's my favourite lifter of all time. Abdi Ukadov's a Russian weightlifter. He's won the world's second at the Olympics, won the world championships once or twice.
I think once.
Yeah,
Last year wasn't him. He came in second.
Yeah, once. But was silver at the Olympics on a count back on body weight. Amazing lifter, along with a bunch of other world champion waves. What does this do? I mean, this is like Usain Bolt getting popped, which has been mentioned before. You know, not not that there's rumours about him, but Asafa Power got busted, all these Jamaicans get busted. What happens if the greatest ever gets busted? What does it do for the sport? What does this do for weightlifting at Ilya line?
Take it like. I mean, everyone will pull it back to the Lance Armstrong saga. You know, like the best rider got popped. You know, but you got to see in terms of what has he done for the sport of weightlifting. He's gotten a lot of people into weightlifting. He's gotten a lot of people interested in weightlifting. You know, learning more about the sport, pushing themselves to push the envelope in the sport. You know, he himself holds a PhD in weightlifting.
Yeah.
You know, he himself set up, I think it's a school to promote like a sports school to promote weightlifting. You know, so I think rather than, I mean, you know that it's gonna be prevalent in sport. Yeah,
well, it's the Lance Armstrong effect, just like you said. It's Ilya line is probably
the Lance Armstrong of weightlifting,
and he's probably still the best in the world.
Yes,
but let's be honest, he's probably competing against other performance-enhanced athletes.
Yep.
And he's beating them, and he's never been beaten. So it's a shame that he has to get to fame like this. But
I think the thing to understand as well is, you know, I mean, you will never know how much of what they're doing in regards to banned substances.
Yeah.
So it will never be a level playing ground. But considering that he is also still quite genetically gifted for the sport, you know, so it's like the whole AI argument again. You know, it's like we are at this point where he has the potential to be like that. They push the envelope of pushing his potential up even further.
Yeah.
And that's why he's become the best in the world. You know, and now because of that, then things are starting to appear, and now he's got caught. You know, I don't see that it's a bad thing for the sport as much. I mean, they are trying to send a message out probably, and they're trying to you know, make sure. I think in general across all sports, they're trying to keep it as clean as possible now.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, being in the sport, you know that.
Yeah, it's part of it.
It's part of it.
It's just a shame, like Lotchev with the heaviest ever clean and jerky competition. Week later, boom, done. Ilya line. I mean, these guys are the heroes of the sport. It's not just the rogue. I mean, Lance Armstrong is the perfect example. He was the hero of all heroes worldwide for a number of reasons. But yeah, it's just a shame because what do you do?
I think you look at it as well as, you know, I mean, you know that, okay, I don't want to put it that way, but morally, you know, it's not right.
Yeah.
Right? Okay? Because you're trying to give yourself an unfair advantage across your other opponents. But at the same time, from a spectator view, you know, it's
a better product.
Yeah, you don't want to see someone lift a heavy weight.
Human potential. You want to see it pushed as far as you can.
Push as far as it can. You know, take a page out of the powerlifters. You know, they have non-sanctioned federations so that they can actually push the envelope to see, all right, these guys can actually lift a ton of like a lot of weight.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, I think it's just a bummer to see that, you know, while these guys are pushing the envelope and you jolly well know that something's involved, you still want to bust them. And
yeah, I think it's just about, for me, it's probably just about youth and children and stuff.
Yeah,
you don't want to have your heroes.
Yes, definitely.
The way that they got there is they cheated the system. So
Yeah.
that means the way that I want to get a big house and have lots of money is I want to sell drugs.
Yep.
You know, it's that's obviously what it's all about. I couldn't agree more that people just want to see the best. It's like the
biggest lifts.
The biggest lifts. Mixed martial arts is the same. Mixed martial arts has got the biggest, the most stringent testing, apart from this Brock Lesnar thing that's just come out. But it's neither here nor there. But their testing is through the roof now, and really stringent because they want to do the same thing. They want to clean up the sport. But at the same time, Joe Rogan, who's the he is the face of the UFC, him and Dana White, the voice of the UFC at least, even he says, I think I prefer the enhanced version, you know, because it's such a grey area. I mean, these guys are trained as serious athletes. Like, how much do you want their body to go through and their mind to go through without performance-enhancing drugs. It's such a grey area.
But it's the same as like weightlifting has had this before as well. If you look back in the history of weightlifting, there was a period of time, I think in the 1990s, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not even there, but they changed the weight categories. They wiped out the records. They go like, all right, let's start afresh, because the whole drug thing was getting way out of hand. People were hitting numbers and doing too much, getting popped all the time, So I think it's like, as you start to push that, I want to see the biggest lift and all that, and it starts to go really way overboard, compared to the biggest clean and jerk now to what it was 10 years ago. That's a huge difference. Yeah. And some records were a little bit long lasting, but at that time it was already quite a and I think it's just that point where it's gonna do the same, and it's gonna go back to that cycle.
Yeah.
So I think the next step, if anything's gonna happen, is if they really do wipe out the records and start afresh, right? You're gonna see, all right, this is where it starts building up again, and then maybe 20 years down the track, we're gonna get the same problem again.
Unless we do obviously what the powerlifting system is, and that's clean and enhanced categories. But then if you do that, you still got cheats in the clean category.
Oh yeah,
100%. There's always going to be people that are trying to get the edge and trying to be the number one and not going about the right way. So
you got to see how the system of that whole drug enhancement works. I think it's like, all right, we come out with a product that you just go through what Lance Armstrong went. We come out with a product that at that point of time couldn't be detected. Right. Then after that, down the road, medical advances allow you to have a certain system to be able to test for things like that. So
and they retest things now. They keep the blood and
so they keep it for 8 years.
Yeah.
So they test it originally, and they go, all right, if you're clean, we'll keep that aside. Your B sample will be kept till 8 years later.
Yep.
We might open it up, especially for the top guys, and retest that. So basically, anything can happen in 8 years. Technology is advancing even within a year so quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised, that we start to see more of these happening.
Because I think Ilya's was from the 2012.
Yeah, the 2012 one. So, but I think what sparked it was the IOC wanting to keep the sport clean. So they started testing like from the 8-year period and the 4-year period, and then see how that, what they get from that.
So it's a shame. Yeah. Either way, it's.
The positive of it is we're gonna see some good lifting still. We're gonna see not new talent, but we're gonna see how they actually rise from that and what they're gonna do.
Well, but we're not going to see Ilya Line and Abdiel Ukhdov in Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, but we probably still have the Chinese.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't been.
Wow.
Yeah. We still have the Chinese.
Till next week.
Yeah, till next week. We never know what happens tomorrow anyway. So.
All right. Well, we'll try and start to wrap it up, Lester. So normally we have 6 from 6.
Yep.
Which is 6 rapid fire questions from myself and Tommy. I think I'll ask Tommy's questions today. So normally, we'll just probably leave them out, but I'll ask them. But we'll start with my questions. So first question, short and sharp. Your favourite travel destination you've ever been to? Can be little town, big. Can be country, can be anything.
I think the most memorable one would be Barcelona.
Beautiful.
Because that was the first time I was in Europe. Yep. I went there not only for like business but also for travel, for holiday. Yeah, So I went there with my wife. We just got married and we treated that as our honeymoon as well.
Awesome.
So I got the chance to present in a conference, quite a big conference. I got a chance to hang out with my wife. Got a chance to experience Europe. So
cool.
Yeah,
we've had Barcelona before actually. It's a popular one.
It's a very nice place. Like, I mean, the culture's different as well. The food's great. We're always there for the food. So
I've been in Barcelona.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so similar vein, but this one's where's your dream destination?
Dream destination, I think, would be one of the Eastern European countries. Probably to experience something different from the European countries that I've been to.
Yeah.
Because I've never been to that side before.
Yeah, Czech Republic or where's Eastern Bloc supposed to be amazing. Next one is 3 things to keep you sane on a desert island. So you've got food and water, you got stuff to keep you alive.
Okay. I would say barbell.
Barbell,
Yeah,
boom.
a barbell.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. A hammock.
Yep.
Because actually sleeping in a hammock is quite good. I've done that quite a lot in my...
Barbell and weight plates, I would imagine.
Yeah,
let's,
of course,
let's
weight
fix
plates.
that up with the
So
weightlifting set.
Weightlifting set, all right? Weightlifting set. May not need a platform, but, and I would say my family. Does that count?
Yeah, that'll count.
Alright,
That'll count.
cool.
Good stuff. And Tommy's questions. Tommy's questions are role model growing up. Do you have anyone you looked up to?
I would say my role model, even to this point, is my dad.
Yep.
So like, he's the stuff that he's been through. Like even health wise, he had a brain tumor even like way before he got to know my mom and all that. And going through life with my mom and how he brought up our family and all that. It's basically what I hopefully can be half of.
Yeah. Do
So
you get back to Singapore and see your family?
yeah, yes.
much?
So we try to go back once a year at least now, so
Yeah.
that the grandparents can kind of see my son and all that
Awesome.
as well. So
I'd be stoked, I can imagine.
oh yeah.
What do you like to do in your downtime?
In my downtime, I actually like to just sit down and relax and enjoy, like even just watching my son do stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, now with a family, you go like, all right, you don't, because I'm always out and about, so I don't have that chance to kind of sit down and actually observe how he thinks or how he moves. I think that's like one of the more precious things that I keep in close to me now, because he's growing so quick. And you want to see how he actually changes. Him being able to do puzzles, go like A's here, B's here, C's here, and you start to pick up, oh, he's actually thinking like that.
Yeah.
And then that's actually quite fascinating, because you never know how a child thinks.
Nah.
And being able to see that is just something very rewarding.
Yeah, it'd be a very proud moment too, watching it all unfold.
Of course. Like especially when he picks up that barbell.
Yeah.
You go like, oh yes.
He moves well.
Yeah, and then he doesn't. You don't even need to teach him how to squat, and he just goes boom into a perfect squat, and you go like, yes.
That's my boy.
That's my.
Tommy's last question is always 3 people that you would take to dinner, dead or alive.
Dead or alive. I think the first one would be. I really wanna take. This is a tough one. There's so many people that I want to meet, and like sit down and have a chat with.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I want to take like who's it? Ruslan's coach. Ruslan Elbergoff, that
No.
super heavyweight guy.
I don't.
The guy that was world champion before Lokchev.
Yeah, I mean, it all rings a bell, but
yeah, because I wanna pick his brains on, like, Ruslan's actually a big guy, but he moves really well.
Yep.
And like he may not be considered a strong guy, but like for his size and his technique, it'd be good to pick his brain.
Yeah,
so
cool.
that's one. Sit down with also Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so you're a big foodie.
Yeah, big foodie. Like
cool.
seeing how he actually is able to, his experiences all over. I mean, you can watch it on TV. Hearing him talk about it personally
And answer the questions
you
want to answer. He's actually got a really interesting life story as well, I believe.
Yes.
I don't know too much about it, but I think he's a recovering heroin addict and been through some real interesting times and stuff that he's come out on the other end of. So.
Yes, and I think like how he actually now takes his life further from that, and how he explores or creates that sense of adventure in himself.
Mm.
And I think the last one, probably the guy that invented the camera, because like I wanted
Charles Nikon?
Yes, I wanted to.
That's a guess.
I
That
have
was a
no
joke.
idea. I have no idea, but because I think the camera is such a big part of our life now. And being able to know what pushed him to invent something like that, what was his purpose for it.
Yeah.
How he got about trying to put it together,
It's amazing how many life-changing accomplishments have happened, not life-changing, history-changing accomplishments have happened in the lifetime of our great-grandparents through to what's going to be finished in our lifetime, the space of 125 years or whatever.
Yep.
It's mind-boggling the amount of stuff that's changed the course of history, and photography being able to hold on to moments.
Yep.
My memories, I hit my head doing a backflip on a dance floor a couple of years ago, an unsuccessful one. And my memory since then, it's patchy.
Yep.
It's patchy, and I feel like I want to start to write down some of these travel experiences that I've had, and it's actually funny that I tell some stories on here because I think of it every time. I'm like, it's good that I've got that out on and record it, because so much stuff that I forget now, and to have I think having photos is just that never-ending memory that you have.
And you got to remember, we're always putting information into our head, but our brain capacity is only able to physically take that much unless we really tap into it.
Yeah.
So for more information go in, old information needs to go out.
Yeah.
You start to forget things because you're starting to remember newer things.
Yeah.
So being able to have something that physically allows you to remember that.
An external hard drive of your memories.
Yeah, exactly. So the guy who actually started it all to allow us to take photos and all that, it would be nice to see what his purpose was.
Yeah.
For that.
We get a few of those on the dinner table. Not so much the guy that invented photography, but like Nikola Tesla.
Yep.
Nikola Tesla would be great because he's obviously Nikola Tesla. Was it Tesla? I think that had was writing things down till the day that he died, and like all of his journals and papers and stuff that he had, that was things that he was working on that never. Oh, that might have been Einstein, but Nikola Tesla and these kind of figures in history, that'd be pretty awesome. Well. That's pretty much it, Lester. So before we finish, have you got anything you would like to plug? And then where can people find you?
All right. So if I want to plug, I'll probably plug my blog, thetraininggeek.net. All right. So I'm starting to get back into writing on it again because I've been busy and haven't really paid much attention to it.
Yep.
Hoping to put out a bit more content on it now. You can find me on Instagram. My handle's at Lester HOKW. I put out a lot of training videos, a lot of ideas that I, as a coach of what I prescribe and what people should be doing as a modern day athlete. Facebook as well. If you look for Training Geek, you should be able to find. If you want to come and work with me one-on-one, or even come and have a play or a lift, you can find me at Southeast Strength. We're located in Moorabbin, Cheltenham. We have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page as well. We don't only do weightlifting and powerlifting, we do strongman, we play around with some conditioning stuff, we just like to have fun. So
cool.
If you're looking for me, just come down and
Cool. That's about it. All right, let's start. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Yeah. Tommy sends his regards. Yes. And thanks, guys. That's a wrap. Okay, thanks, guys. That was our second show with Lester Ho. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, please leave us a review on iTunes. That would be fantastic. Give us 5 stars. Don't leave a review if you're going to give us 4, 3, 2, or 1. I asked a friend of mine if she could leave us a review. She said the podcast was great. She left a 4-star review. I said, what the fuck did you do that for? So please leave us a 5-star review. Anyway, guys, if you need anything from the show, any podcast, any of the information from the show, it will be in the show notes, which will be at www.adventurefittravel.com/podcast. Also, just join our mailing list there. You won't miss out on anything Adventure Fit Travel or Adventure Fit Radio related. And that's pretty much it. See you next week.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.